Hi friends, it's your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. This actually came out in November of 2015. It was one of the earliest Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition Canon hardbacks, and it was a setting guide for a region of the Forgotten Realms, specifically between Neverwinter and all the way down to Waterdeep, and if you care, Baldur's Gate. I don't think I really count Baldur's Gate because it's a video game add-on. It doesn't seem that real or important to me, but Baldur's Gate doesn't need Scott Garibay as a fan. There are a lot of people who love Baldur's Gate. That game made $1 billion back, I think it was 2024. It was huge. It was an absolutely massive release. So, but it also covered Baldur's Gate, and it is really interesting. And so I've already talked about the creators, Green Ronin, and today I want to talk about the successes and the failures of this D&D Canon hardback. So what were the successes? So first of all, it's a D&D Canon hardback in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and that means a lot. That is such a big deal. So first of all, 10 years ago, they designed this, they wrote it, they printed it, and they distributed it, right? Oh, well, Scott, I do that all the time. It's a lost art today. I could point you to three tabletop role-playing games right now that they're like, oh, we're out. Our game's released. Are you? Where's the book? Oh, well, you just have to buy the PDF. So we have weeks or months where, you don't, of these vapor releases where you're like, where's the book? And that is not the case with Dungeons and Dragons. 10 years ago, they were writing, they were designing, they were writing, they were printing, and they were distributing, and they can still do that today. And it's no small thing. The other thing is, Green Ronin did it. They wrote a D&D Canon hardback. Now there's a few other companies that can say that. Garrington Press did it. They have a book that is D&D Canon. Ghostfire Games did it, right? But it's not a long list, right? There's if you wrote a D&D Canon hardback, you're in the annals of history, right? It's a really big deal. And the other thing is, it's also what a D&D 5th edition Canon hardback is, which is really fascinating because it is fundamentally different than anything that exists it really is quite different and does not match what Dungeons & Dragons did in the past, and also what Dungeons & Dragons competitors do. So in the old days, even as late as like 3rd edition, there were these floppies, right? Like these soft cover books, and they were like 64 pages. That stuff is gone now. A D&D Canon hardback, 256 pages, full color, and there's a level of quality that today's book is holding up for the entire industry, right? And many companies fail to meet it, right? Like, it's just, a D&D Canon hardback, it's converted into multiple languages. It's on every shelf, every indie bookstore, every Barnes & Noble, every Walmart, every Target, every FLGS, and so many games do not hit this, right? So, 10 years ago, Green Ronin was absolutely instrumental in setting a standard, a quality standard, a new quality standard across the entire tabletop role-playing game industry, which I think is absolutely fascinating, right? So, and good on them. Like, they should be extremely proud of what they accomplished. And I'm proud of them. I think this is, it's really good. Okay, that is a success. What were its failures? There were a few. Okay, so first of all, I think it was a mistake to just do a region of the Forgotten Realms. It should have covered all of Forgotten Realms. It should have been a Forgotten Realms setting book, period, right? Not just part of the Forgotten Realms, but you could have easily covered all of the Forgotten Realms. And it was the time to tell people this is the Forgotten Realms in 5th edition. And instead, it drew this like, oh, hey, here's this portion of the Forgotten Realms, and back then you didn't know, right? But now we're 10 years out and there's never been any other books for Forgotten Realms. We're just now about to receive new Forgotten Realms books a decade later. And what are they going to cover? Are they going to cover the same old thing that they did? You know, is this a revamp of what we got 10 years ago? Is it a different region? It's not going to be a different region. I can tell you that right now. So I think it was a failure that it only covered part of the Forgotten Realms. That was a problem. The other thing it failed to do was it failed to innovate or expand what a setting book was. And this is a big, big problem. So first of all, more than any other book in the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition library for D&D Canon hardbacks, this looked like 4th edition and 3rd edition setting books and 2nd edition setting books and 1st edition setting books. It just looked like, oh, hey, here's a bunch of, lore dumps, right? And now when we've seen so much innovation in 5th edition, and really one of the innovations they did later was they were like, we're never putting out a setting book again. We're going to do adventures, and those adventures will happen in the setting that we are defining. They did this for Ravenloft. They did an excellent job with it. They did it for Exandria. They did it for Arcavios, which is where Strixhaven is located. They did it for Ravnica. They did it for Theros, right? And basically, none of these are all adventures that are set, that are put. It is today there are no setting books, right? It's just an adventure that happens in the setting, and the setting is presented in tandem with the adventure. Okay, now, so it failed from that perspective. Here's another one. What I think really could have been done was you could have handed the setting books to the players. There was an opportunity for this, right? And you could have innovated so many things here. So one of the things is dungeon masters have so much power, and players have so little. But I believe there's a way to create a setting book that puts the player first and says, hey, everything in this world is yours, right? And you're going to tell your fellow players where your player character is by this region is your region, and this piece of equipment is your piece of equipment, and these peoples of this world is your peoples, right? And the only thing that matters out of this setting is what you bring forward because your player character chose it from that setting. And I think this was a massive commercial failure and a massive creative failure. And I think we're still failing at it in D&D Canon hardbacks. We need to give ownership of far more, if not the majority of Dungeons & Dragons, to players. Because right now, we just don't have uber players emerging. And it's more for DMs, and we never seem to give more for players. And I think it's a problem. We really need to, it's a problem. It's a very serious problem that really needs to get fixed. So those were, the successes and failures of the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.